I had a lot of fun, guys, with that music video thing. Okay, someone's got an open speaker here. Is major echo. Who just joined?
Could be me.
Okay, put yourself on mute, Jolly. Put yourself on mute in this chat test.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, so there's echo.
Probably because you're on Discord.
Okay,
Yeah, I
so
just
let's
canceled
turn
the
Discord
Discord.
off. Discord.
All right. There we go. You're live.
Great. Well, good. Yeah. Welcome. You've we're the virtual we're the virtual film company, and you've joined us here on Spatial. Thank you. And today we're going to be talking about Apple's new VR AR headset. And Chris has put together some great visuals here for us.
Yeah, I hope so. Well, basically, we have to say we don't have that much more information that maybe a lot of people probably
Guys, we have a
already.
feedback loop going here. It's really bad.
Where?
I don't hear one.
Everything that's being said is being repeated back to me.
Well, that's on your social or on your thing, because I don't have that right now.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Keep going, Chris.
All right. No, it's sounded quite well here on Twitch at the moment. So in that case, right. As many people know, probably Apple announced a new device, and it has been quite a while since Apple really released a new device. The last thing that most people probably remember was the Apple Watch, and that's almost 9 or 10 years ago, isn't it? Something. So it's always a big thing for Apple to put something new out there. We remember that Apple came out with computers for a while, and then they started to go to mobile devices like the iPod, if anyone remembers the iPod, also quite a while ago. And then they went over to the iPhone and iPad. And those devices are, well, we can say they are game changers for a whole industry. A lot of people are really crazy about those devices. They buy anything that Apple is releasing.
You know,
And
Chris,
now-
Chris, let me just ask you a question. Sorry to interrupt you, but this is something that really bothers me actually, because
The loyalty?
No. People have said that they keep saying that the iPhone is this big game changer, and they point to it as a technology innovation that changed technology. And I've been thinking about this for months, and I thought about it again last night because it keeps coming up. And to me, it's like, wait a minute, guys. What about things like Microsoft's, I don't know if anyone remembers, probably nobody remembers their, what was it, their IC phone
yeah,
system,
exactly, John.
the operating
you
system, and then,
And that's the point.
we had the BlackBerry, which,
Yeah.
I mean, man, I was issued a
Yeah.
BlackBerry because it was like, the coolest thing out, and you could do all these things on it, and it had apps on it. And, and then
Yeah,
we
but,
want to say
you
that
know-
all of a sudden the iPhone is this innovative thing. I think it's a copy of
Wait a second.
existing
I said,
technology. Go ahead.
sorry. No. You quoted me wrong here, sir. Come on. I said it was a game changer for the industry, and I still think it was. But I never said it was a game changer or a new thing in the industry talking about technology. When we think about what my Motorola Razr could do, basically, because think about the presentation of the iPhone, what Mr. Jobs said at that time. We have, what did he say? A phone and an internet communicator, and people were going crazy like, wow, we hadn't got that before. Sure, we had that. My Razr did that. I could go with GPRS online.
Yeah.
It was horrible, but it worked. And the BlackBerry was quite cool. But again, the point is the iPhone was the game changer for the industry. Why? Because they combined stuff differently. They combined it in a very special way. They used all the technology that was available at that time. And a lot of that technology came from Samsung.
Yes,
right?
exactly. Or Nokia.
That's why, or
Qualcomm.
Nokia,
Yep.
or whatever, a lot of different companies where they were taking technology, and that's why they had, well, long-term problems, suing each other for whatever kind of stuff. However, but again, the iPhone was the game changer for the industry because so many people adopted it. And
Yep, I
from
got
that
that.
point on, right, it was apps. Everyone, when you talked about apps, what is an app? Nobody ever called a program an app. But in this case, they had to find something that is different from buy software. No, buy an app. And the app today is clearly something software that is running on a mobile device because Apple, called it like that. And the way they brought it into their fan base, let's say, that is the game changer for the industry, right? That's the point. Technology-wise, they did a good job. And there's no doubt about that, but it was not something that we have never seen before.
Yes, I agree. I think that I was actually one of the people that did jump on the first iPhone that came out, and it was this cool piece of technology. And at that point, I never really was somebody that followed Apple along. But the one thing I will say is they have a loyal fan base that believe and support their products. I
Well,
am yet
that's
to
the whole thing with Apple. I mean, I worked for Apple, okay, and I and everyone else there swore that we would never go over to the dark side, over to Microsoft, and lo and behold, I did. But
well, I
yeah, I
did
mean,
as
it's a
well.
cool company.
I did as well. I switched over to the Samsung also, and I haven't went back over to Apple. I think they have an interesting way that they go about presenting their technology, and again, I respect the loyalty that people have. They're going to buy the tablet, they're going to buy the computer, they're going to buy that. But where I'm going with this is, I I want to see how many people are going to buy the headset at $3,500 after taxes. It's going to be close to $4,000 for this item, and it's going to really test the true loyalty of their fans because, and again, as we've seen, last year, the Quest Pro came out and it was about half that price. And it did have some cool features to where you didn't need to use the controllers, and it was a quality headset. For me, I just couldn't justify the price tag. That's why I took it back compared to, where we're at right now, to where, like, if you really wanted to get into VR, you could get a used Quest Pro probably now for around $200, somewhere between $200 and $300. So,
well, let's go back to Chris here, because Chris is still going to show us and then we'll come back to price, because one of the things about price that I think we need to talk about is the components in the device. So, Chris,
okay.
let's get back to talking. You were introducing the HMD to us.
Yeah, so now the big question is, when we were talking about game changers in the industry, and Apple devices sometimes were definitely game changers. The Apple Watch probably was also some trendsetter because others did watches afterwards as well. So now we can have a look on the Vision Pro.
I look at the iPod. The iPod was really one of the things that they came out with that was just amazing as well.
Yes, the iPod was a defining technology. I will agree with that. So, here we have it on the screen.
It's a little bit in though. We need it. Yeah, there we go. Love the technology in the metaverse. They definitely made it look cool. It looks like a set of ski goggles.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Who is controlling it now?
I think you are. I'm not.
No, I'm not.
I'm not doing.
Someone
I'm not
shifted
doing
it away.
anything.
It's a mystery of the metaverse.
Well,
Mm.
folks, while we fix that, this is the Virtual Film
preparing for
Company,
the
and we
unveiling.
recently moved here to Spatial, and we're still getting our bearings with everything. We were broadcasting on Old Space VR for 2 years, actually.
Are you talking to the
And
couch right now?
can you hear me?
Yeah, you
not?
just look like you're talking to the couch.
And that's one of the problems here is
All right, it's on the
Anyway.
screen here. It's good to be here. And yeah, look at that. The one thing Apple definitely does is they are very cool at presenting their products and how they make them look. They spend the money definitely putting the presentations together.
Yep. So, let's just do a quick, before Chris jumps in again, anyone that's watching here, we apologize for any technical issues that we've had. We're finding our feet, as I said, here on Spatial, and we're getting it right. We're here every Wednesday at noon Eastern time to talk about technology. We have been running this show now for 2 years on VR chat, on Old Space VR, which, as you know, closed down. We are also doing some artistic stuff in terms of acting on VR chat. We have a YouTube channel, we have a Facebook page, we have a LinkedIn page. So please visit us. We need more people. We need money. So if you'd like to donate to us, we're a Michigan nonprofit corporation, and you can find out how to donate to us by visiting either our website, thevirtualfilmcompany.org, or our YouTube channel is probably the best way to get to know us. You can see some of the work that we've done, and there's a donation link there to Fractured Atlas. So that's the commercial. Back to you, Chris.
Right. So the big question here is now, when we take a look at the device and what the device is probably going to do. Well, we saw demos on the introduction, and we know basically how it works. Today, the first, let's say, early adopters, or how to call them, influencers, they invited to Cupertino, were able to test it for, I think, 1 hour, they said, and they did videos about that and talked about it. And well, from those videos that I saw, the quality of the headset is amazing. The point here is to understand that we see not a classic AR headset like the HoloLens or the Magic Leap. This is a VR headset. It's like the Oculus Quest or any other, just that it has a very high resolution, a lot of different cameras in a very high resolution. They're talking about 24 million pixels. So it's more than 4K per eye, left and right. And those cameras that we see here, can you see my mouse pointer? Yeah, I guess. You can.
Yeah.
So those high-end cameras here are filming the environment. Like in this case, it would be this forest here that is virtual, and project that basically inside of the headset, so we could see it in here as the user. And that quality, people said, is really, really high. It looks realistic. But
yeah,
it is
that's
not
the
like
thing about Apple
freeing,
is good quality. Good quality.
Definitely, yes. But the point is, we are not seeing through a glass. So it's not that we see the reality through a glass. We see it by being captured by those cameras. On top of that, we
But
have
is there a
additional
difference,
sensors.
Chris? Is there
I
a
guess so,
difference
yeah.
to you?
Those cameras could distort the image, for example.
Right. Okay. So, but glass could distort.
Yeah.
I think
sure,
we're getting to a point though where cameras are getting so good that
Yeah.
There isn't going to be a difference. But good point. Yes.
It might be. And, I just have those videos that I watch from other people. They said the quality is very high. But anyways, this is a camera. So let's say the camera is starting to fail, right? Not to say that they have bad quality, but it could happen. It's a piece of technology, could fail. The lens could get scratched or whatever. Shouldn't be because there's a little protection there and stuff. Well, however, but it's not that you see through a piece of glass. That could also break. That could also get scratched. No doubt about that. But anyways, it is something that was recorded in a way, let's say by a camera, and you will see that inside of the headset. And very important to know is that on the headset itself, when we look at the headset like this here, we would see the image of the face of the user on a
Yeah,
screen.
that
If
is
we
the
are
part that I think is a little bit creepy. I don't know. What do you think of that?
I think it's a catchy thing to do, to where, like, look at me, this is going to be cool, and when you're unavailable, it's going to like put another image above the screen. So, I think that that's kind of what Apple does. They come up with a few, like, just kind of throw in features that, you know.
Well, I think the goal is probably to make it more humanistic in that, when people look at you, I think probably the eventual goal is that they'll ignore the thing that's attached to your face, whatever it is, and it'll probably be so small eventually that one won't be able to see it. But it just seems to me having these, it's like me wearing a diving mask and walking around looking at people and people looking at me through this lens. I don't know. It's strange. But I suppose if enough
One
of us are wearing them, we'll get used to it, right?
one of the funny memes that I seen is somebody had the scuba diving tube for $8.99 to go with the headset. Like,
Oh, I love that.
it
I
was
love that because that's what it
amazing.
looks like. It looks like, actually a skin diving mask. Yeah, it's beautifully done. Sorry, go ahead,
Yeah.
Chris.
For sure it is. When we take a closer look, so many people that saw the device said, well, it's really great, well, designed, and it looks fantastic and it feels fantastic. Well, I thought that Apple would do a great job here, for no doubt about that in the end.
Yeah, I mean, that's really
The
what
big
Apple's all about, is just, design. I mean, from the beginning, it's been, the design of the whole everything about Apple. I mean, from the logo, it's just all about good design. But well, we'll talk
Well,
about it later. But go ahead, Chris.
that's why people buy their products, though. There are people that want that. Yeah, Chris, go ahead.
For sure, it is very important for the fan base and for the Apple customer to have a good design and a very good manufacturing and so on. I'm 100% sure about that. But now the big question is, what can we really do with the device? We know it's a
Yep.
VR headset. We know what we can do with an Oculus Quest, what we can do with any HTC Vive, and all the other devices. There are a lot of games available for those. There are tons of different types of applications available. For the Oculus Quest, there is a big community called SideQuest of developers that are presenting their work, their testing, their whatever, with hundreds of free apps you can just install on your headset, because it's Android. And Android in this case is in parts open source, and you can put stuff on there that won't probably be possible on this device here. So there's not a community that can just push in, oh, I made a little app, try that one. I don't know. I don't
Well,
think that is possible.
well, from what I've heard, Chris, and I think we can't refer to this or maybe any of the future HMDs that are going to be coming out as VR headsets. I think, at best we should be referring to them as XR headsets or,
Okay.
but,
Yeah.
they all have passed through now. And I think we'll be, walking around with them. At some point,
Yeah.
it'll just be like dark glasses, right? Or glasses,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, we have to define these differences between VR headset and a AR headset and an XR headset in the end, just for people that are not that much familiar with those different terms. I refer just for VR headset because that's, in my opinion, the basic functionality. But because of all the implemented sensors and cameras, for sure it
And
is
then
capable of.
right.
Of,
No, I
get-
was also going to say that there's also the App Store, which Apple has been touting as being, the source of all of these games and everything else for this device. So, if you buy it, you have access to Apple's, well, supposedly anyway, Apple's whole
and how
ecosystem.
many? Yeah, sure.
Well, I
You can
mean,
run
if
any.
you think if you have a tablet, everything like that, the way Apple seems to lead by example is they want all their devices connected. If you have a phone and a computer and everything, they're going to want this to be implemented with their other technologies, because otherwise, why are they even doing this? I feel like that is they're ready.
They've said as much. They've said as much that this is the spatial computer, and what they see is that, this is the device that's going to connect you to everything Apple. So, yeah.
That's the thing that I feel excited about within this realm is for years we've been hearing they're going to come out with this. And I feel like the technology they are finally feeling comfortable with putting something out there that isn't going to be obsolete in 6 months, because that's why they're ready to bring this thing to market. I feel like they've almost been pushed because they've talked about it for so long. It's like, hey, it's time for you guys to jump into the water. And this is an opportunity to where I agree with you guys to where, like, okay, where are they going? What are they going to do? Because everybody somewhat with the metaverse is like, oh, the metaverse is done, but the metaverse is truly just beginning. Like we're just figuring out where this thing is going to be, how people are going to experience this thing. And that's one of the things I think that's great with SideQuest is there's a lot of developers that are creating apps, creating things in this world, and there's so much opportunity. And I feel like the public.
That's just it, and we'll get to I think the price thing, but there is opportunity, but if the market share is so small because the device is so expensive, who's going to want to develop for it? But I think let's continue on, because there are some really cool features in here that in fact would make me buy one today, perhaps, if it was available. So go on, Chris.
Well, first we have to touch again where I was left off the last time, basically what the possibilities are. And the possibility, as I said, we know other head-mounted displays and what they offer. And here, yes, we can access all the iOS apps. But okay, how many iOS apps are there that, I mean, augmented reality apps are there? Yes, that is correct. If they work directly with their augmented reality functions, if those are just working without preparations or whatever on the headset here, I don't know.
Yeah,
All the
rumor has
other
it,
iOS
yes.
apps.
Rumor has it, yes. But, seeing is believing.
That is the point, because the sensor will be a bit different from the LiDAR sensor that is on the iPad Pro, for example. I'm programming for
And that you know
AR
is
apps.
very cool, Chris. I mean, I'm glad you mentioned the LiDAR sensor. I mean, and to me, that's something that, I don't get Android with not putting that sensor in there, because all of the cool stuff that one can do with 3D, which I'm sure you're going to talk about in a little bit, is really, and some people are going to argue about this, but I think it really expands what one can do. And sure, it adds to the cost, but man, it adds to the experience.
For sure, it's very important for the awareness, because we are talking about a spatial device, and also that is a very important term that we have to clarify. What is a spatial
Yeah.
computer or a
Yes.
spatial
Yes.
device?
Yes.
And one of the biggest tech companies in Germany, they just made a video about it, and they said a spatial computer is a computer that is operated in a room. I said, no, that is not spatial enough. A spatial computer, in my opinion, the definition is more like the computer is aware of the environment. The computer knows what is happening around itself. Like if you go with a spatial computer inside of a room, it knows where objects are, how big the room is, where the floor is, where the roof is, and so on and so on. That is important. So it can do metrics, it can measure it, and you as a user can use the room itself as a environment where you can, for example, place 3D objects in. If you just want to test if your new whatever cupboard is fitting into the room, you can do that. If you have the right 3D model, you can put it in there, and then it looks like it's in there, a virtual object. You can have whatever, a game in there where robots coming out of the door, the real door, and try to attack you or whatever. All that is basically possible. We saw that in other devices.
Wow.
But that's a spatial environment. That's a spatial computer that knows what the environment is about, and it can handle the data. So,
and Chris, that's that's cutting edge stuff, and that's like totally amazing. And as Eric says, wow. But and there are some people, I'm sure, that will pay $5,000 or whatever for it. We'll see what it eventually costs, but I wouldn't pay it to be wowed. So but we'll talk about that in a bit.
Well,
but I do like the wow. I like that. I mean, I think it's just, if a device starts being able to do that and allows you that functionality easily, then we're moving into a whole different realm of creativity, which is
So do you think that the price point is primarily because of all of the tech that's in it, or because it's in almost the initial ones is almost like a beta testing and it just needs to become more mass accepted before it becomes more available price-wise? Maybe.
You asking me or Chris?
That was to either one of you.
Chris, do you have a comment on that?
It's hard to say. I mean, at the moment.
Go ahead.
No, at the moment, I'm not sure how this thing will develop and how all these different points, like the technology and the pricing, and just the fact that this is a new Apple device, that is also important somehow. Those facts together, how they will work. It's because the only thing that we saw yet, for me personally, and that's a personal thing, that's so hard to answer your question.
Yeah.
In my opinion, for me personally, it's I'm using or buying a device to do something with it. I would buy a new headset or a new smartphone, whatever, if I need it, if I have a function where I say, wow, I can do this with that, and I can do something work with it or whatever. When I see what I can do with this device at the moment, and that is using standard Apple apps that I have on my iPad, just to project them into my environment. That is cool. Now, I don't think that we already said it's the price point. It is $3,499, and that is a lot of money for seeing whatever things that you have on your iPad, on your iPhone, floating in front of you in a room, or watching a movie in a high quality. That is cool. And yes, it can be something like a replacement for a big TV. Awesome. But yeah, so for me, it's a great piece of technology. I would really love to test it, but I wouldn't probably buy it. But that is my personal view.
Well, my thought on the price, is unfortunately that, they've a month ago they were saying $3,000, right? So now it's, $3,499. And by the time it comes out, who knows? But if I wanted to get one of these, I would then have to invest another $1,000, I mean, if I'm going to spend all of this money on a high-end HMD, I'm obviously going to buy a high-end iPhone, which I'm obviously going to need. I mean, I don't see this working with an Android, right?
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Why would you need that device is standalone? Basically, it should work on itself.
Okay,
right.
That's an interesting.
That would be nice.
Well, that's an
that would really
interesting
be
question.
nice. That would really be nice.
Well, I mean, the thing is
It's a
looking at
standalone
this,
computer.
I mean, looking at this price, I remember when we were talking about the Quest Pro being at $1,800, and like, to me, that was a huge number. And this is twice that. I mean, you're looking at putting it in a price point where how many people really have, it's close to $4,000 after taxes get hit on this thing. How many people have that kind of money to want to go into this environment?
But Eric, it goes back to my point about some of the cool stuff that's in here, and Chris hasn't gotten to my favorite one yet.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's
okay.
Let's. I want to hear this. I'm waiting in anticipation.
Me too. Yep. Me too.
I'm a little bit lost now. What is your favorite what?
Feature. So if you want to continue going through the features of the HMD.
Okay. So we know that we can see the environment in a high quality inside of the headset. We know that we can do probably meshing. So we do basically basic scanning of the environment. And as we do that already on the iPad, I guess the LiDAR sensor with all its functionalities implemented in the iOS, it's not called iOS, I think, how did they call it? Vision OS, is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
right. Yeah, so from the functionality, we can probably take 3D models direct. When we look at something, it can scan a chair or something that is in your environment briefly, right? And you could use that data and do something with it.
Yeah, and that to me, I mean, that part to me is just like, man, the ability to have a built-in 3D camera is very, very attractive. But, from what I've been reading, it's also limited to the Apple, no mention was made of being able to export stuff. So, being able to scan stuff. I don't know what your experience has been with the iPad in terms of standard data.
Basically, what the LiDAR sensor does is it takes in point cloud data and also textures, so you can scan objects. There are apps called Scaniverse, for example, that is doing very good scans, in my opinion, for this LiDAR sensor that is not that extremely high detail, right? You don't get to a micrometer, scans that are so precise, like you have no visual points on the surface or whatever. But still, you can do quite interesting scans with the iPad, and I'm quite sure that it will be possible with the same technology on the headset in the end. So you can get some 3D models out of that, and you have a depth camera basically. So everything in there should be stereoscopic and 3D. The
Yes,
impression
yes,
that
that's the impression I get, is that you can create things in 3D with the headset, basically.
exactly,
So I
and
love
also
that.
3D
I really
videos.
love that. Yes, yes, yes,
Videos
yes, yes, yes.
with depth, let's say. So they showed that briefly,
Exactly.
but I never saw one of those videos. Now, sure, I just can speculate. Like, well, it will sure that it's a stereoscopic camera, and we know that we can do depth um, sensing with those cameras, and so you can create a 3D video that can be played back then maybe on a iPad or whatever. And when you turn your iPad, you will see things from different perspectives a little bit, stuff like that. I would expect that.
And that, I think, was one of the specific mentions that I heard made in terms of this being proprietary, was that, yes, one could create those videos, but you could only use them within Apple's ecosystem, and you could only
Yeah,
obviously only play them on Apple's devices, which,
yeah, yeah,
I mean, Apple has played this game since the beginning. I mean, in my opinion,
sure.
that's one of the problems with Apple, is that it comes up with cool stuff, but it makes it so proprietary. And I really believe that that was one of Jobs's failings. Was, when I was there, I was lucky enough to be there when they actually licensed the Mac for a very brief period of time, and then decided, nope, we're keeping it in-house.
Hmm.
But, it's a cool machine, but, the frustration of not being able to make changes to it and not being able to use mainstream applications on it, in some cases, makes it a tricky bet for business. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this, because, I really think that we need, I mean, and not to say Meta is open, but, Meta, as I think, Eric mentioned, does make the Meta store available for developers to post things, and, but it would be foolish of Apple not to follow suit. So, we'll see what happens. And that's the whole story with this. We'll see what happens next year.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the device will come out in 10 months or something. So it won't be available for maybe for some influencers again, or some testers, or some special companies that should start to develop apps.
Oh
We know
yeah.
that there's a cooperation with Disney already, and that Disney Plus will be available there. Okay, I mean, playing back Disney Plus catalogs shouldn't be a big deal, like have an app that is
Yeah, but they're
going to
smart
play
in the
back the
sense
pixels.
that they're very smart and clever in the sense of the way they get the right influencers and people presenting their product, and again, just the way they go about presenting it, and people who are behind their thing, they're very good at the presentation of, hey, this thing is really cool, and you know what? You need to have this. I mean, I feel like they have that down. They really know what they're doing with that stuff. So I think that that's part of what's exciting with this time. Be
But
interesting to
it
see how
goes
they do
to another
this.
question, which we can do a whole show on one day, and that is, and that's one of the things that sort of bothers me a little bit, is, but they're selling it as an alternative to your television, basically, where, and big screen TV is obviously there, and, there are people with the Oculus that enjoy watching it. And that's what I was going to say we could do a show about, is the difference between watching a film on a television and watching it using a head-mounted display. But to me, that seems to be a big selling point for a lot of companies, is you can now have, this massive TV screen in front of your eyes. And, the only downside is you still have to wear this thing on your head.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, sure, we had those video glasses for a long time.
Yes,
That people
yes.
wear on flights or whatever. It was just a big video screen in front of your eyes. Basically, you put the glasses on and then you could play back films with it. That's not really new in that case. A spatial computer, in my opinion.
Chris, sorry to interrupt, but I'm going to make a prediction here, and I wish I could raise my arms, but I'm not in 3D.
Here we go. I'll raise them for you.
Okay.
For your
I
announcement.
bet you that, within, I don't know, 3 years, let's say, that if you go on a commercial flight, you'll, in the old days when you went on a commercial flight, they offered you headphones. That you'll be able to go on certain commercial flights and they'll offer you a head-mounted display. Maybe this one or a variation of this, well, probably not this one, maybe this one because it's ultra cool, for the duration of the flight, for a price, of course.
Yeah, 100%. I'm absolutely, yes. On a business class flight or whatever might be included or whatever, they could do that easily. No doubt about it. There are possibilities for that. Also, in working environments, if the quality of the projected environment is good enough and close enough to reality, that you can say there are no safety issues or whatever, you can use that for work environments and collaborate with other people in the spatial, right, in the space. Shared spaces, as we know that for quite a while, Magic Leap was quite big on that with shared spaces. And that is for sure something where people might say, well, $3,499 plus tax and shipping or whatever is okay, because a HoloLens costs you $5,000 and Magic Leap $2,500. And here you don't have this problem with the field of view. This, again, that's why I refer to it as a VR headset. That is not quite correct, but you have the 90 degrees probably, I would guess, or 100 degrees of a virtual reality headset. And with a very good quality of those 4K cameras, right? It might really look like you're standing in the room and you're looking through the plastic into the real room, and you can touch glass and your keyboard and other people or whatever, and you don't feel any difference because so real. Yes, I could imagine that might be the point. Just, well, I don't know if that will be adopted, because in the end, again, think about, you want to use that for your company, you have to purchase the devices, and someone has to write software for you. So to write a special app for your use case will cost a lot of money. And I doubt at the moment that, as we saw that on the Oculus Quest device, because it was so cheap and so many people adopted it, so many people developed for it. And now, if there are not tons of developers jumping on this Vision Pro train and put out apps like hell, right? That you have 50, 60, 80, 100 really cool killer apps for this device. That is not happening. Well, it's hard for people to justify to buy a device like that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I would
It's
say it
cool,
comes.
but
It
expensive.
is 100%. I mean, it's to me seeing like where the future is going, and with these headsets, I know some people can spend hours and hours and hours in these things. For me, I've always been, somewhere between an hour to 2 hours, an hour and a half. Like for me, that's a long enough of an experience within this thing of just where it's at and with my eyes and with everything. So I'm not saying that you can't create a device that people could work in all day, but I don't know. I feel like I don't know if we're there yet with the technology without trying this thing on. I don't know, but to be determined.
And Chris,
Yeah, I
the
mean,
battery is. Sorry, go ahead.
no, just what Eric said. Well, think about there are other people that have to wear a lot of stuff every day when they're working because they're working in a toxic environment and they are for
Yeah.
hours in special suits and whatever. So yeah, I mean, it always depends on what you're doing and how comfortable it is to wear that. But what John is going to refer to now is how long can you use that device at the moment? Because the
Yeah,
battery just lasts for 2 hours.
it's true.
Uh,
And
2
this
hours.
battery in the
That's
Quest lasts about an hour. You're in here about an hour, then you got to be plugged in for however long you're going to stay over that if you're just on the regular headset. I do think when it comes down to value, I feel like when it's like I feel like the Quest 2, I wouldn't necessarily say it's cheap. There's a value in it, and that's where the big question mark is of how much are you going to use something to justify spending the money for it? And a phone is a perfect example of how, somebody's spending between several hundred to well over $1,000 for a phone. But you look at the amount of hours that you spend on that phone. Like for me, it's hard
Right.
to not justify spending the money when it's something that's in your hand for so many hours out of a day, and you're
Hmm.
using it for
yeah, but
a
Eric, I
Absolutely.
mean
year,
that's
2
why
years.
that's why to me, if I could buy this thing and go out tomorrow and start making, 3D video content that was viewable by the world, no matter what head-mounted display they had. And
Hmm.
if the quality was good enough, man, I would seriously consider buying it just for that.
Sure. If
Just
there's a
for that.
killer thing in there, if there's anything that is so good that people say, wow, for 3D videos or any other thing that it is able to do, why not spending 3,400? Other people are buying whatever kind of surf tools and other things for their sports for thousands of dollars. Why shouldn't you buy this one? Sure,
Yeah.
but it has to be in there. It has to be in there, and the benefit has to be in that device.
Because I think there's
Yes.
going to be, I mean, we saw a resurgence of 3D while we were on Old Space VR, and I'm actually a member of a Discord group. So it's simmering out there, and this year at CES, there were a couple of monitors and laptops, I believe, that were released with 3D screens that don't require glasses, and so one can see things in 3D. You have to be face on, but you can see it without glasses. And so I think, we're going to see more and more 3D stuff. I know Facebook has pushed it for quite a while, and it, I don't think really took off, but it's still there. I think it's a matter of making it commonplace, establishing a 3D standard that everyone uses and everyone has access to. And maybe this is the first device that, even though it's expensive, provides
Might be.
people with a cool creator tool to create 3D stuff. No.
That might be. That might be. There are a lot of chances for the device. And again, I don't want to speak just against it. I think it's a very cool piece of technology for sure. It's well done, as always with Apple. No doubt about that. I just can speak from my experience, what I'm using. And at the moment, I have not the use case for it. And I couldn't justify the price for myself to buy it. Not even for work at the moment. Because I would probably go for a Quest 3 and say, well, maybe
that's
it's not that
actually
fancy, but
actually that's where I wanted to go with this, Chris, is like based on where we're at with this within a couple minutes. I'd love to hear like where's the Quest 3 going to be at from a technology standpoint of, maybe it's not going to have all of these capabilities, but I'm guessing it's going to have some of the new technology in it and be at a different price point.
well, I don't have too many informations. I just know one person who's testing Quest 3. I asked him some weeks ago, how good is the video quality? And he said, it's great. It's awesome. It's probably somewhere at the point where the Quest Pro is around there. I don't know how good the path-through quality is. And if that is, it won't be near to the quality that the Vision Pro has. But
Well, actually,
if
Chris,
you're happy as a
Chris,
user,
sorry to interrupt you there. I mean, one of the interesting things I'm hearing from people is that it's as good as the Quest Pro. That with the
like the
color
Quest Pro.
pass through and
Mhm. Yeah, I guess
the new processor from
Qualcomm.
my favorite company, Qualcomm. Yes. But yeah, I mean, the thing is that the Quest 1, I mean, was amazing because of the price. The Quest 2 was amazing because of the price, and $500 is still, to me, not. I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's not like going to break the bank. And for the experience that it provides, and as a tool, to be able to visit worlds like this, to do all of the stuff that we do, I think it's just a great deal. But I'm with you where if I was going out exploring virtual reality or XR or whatever, I would be not putting down $3,500. Definitely.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Jolly is with us. Did you want to say something quickly before we close about the Pico? Because that's something that unfortunately, very rarely gets talked about, at least by us. And I think that we should do a show on that, if anything. But did you have a few words or not?
Yeah, the Pico is quite good. It's already got color pass through. It's already got a high resolution. It's got 4K plus, and it's got an 8K demo video, which is really good. You can tether it to a computer with a cable, but better still, you can stream any VR app from your computer wirelessly to the Pico and be in 3D that way. And you can cast anything that you see on the Pico screen to a TV or a computer screen. Also, it's got spatial audio and very low latency. So when it came out, I think it was quite advanced. It's got some of the features of the Vision Pro, Apple, and some of the features of the Quest 3 already. So, and the price, $400, including 6K.
Yeah, I love that.
So,
I love that price.
I'm well pleased with it. And it's got things like Pico Video, where you can see 3D video, all free. various things in space, underwater.
Oh, cool.
It's got lots of live musicians playing constantly, where you go in and get up close to them and you can speak with them via text. And generally, I'm very pleased with it.
Excellent.
Very
No,
cool.
well, thank you for that report. Well, that puts us at the end of our show. And so any quick closing comments, Chris?
I'm still on the Quest 1.
Waiting for the Quest 3 to come out.
Or 4.
Oh, 4. Okay. See how long you can push it. Well, I mean, there is something to be said for getting one's money's worth. So we can talk about that. Eric, anything else from you?
It's exciting seeing where the future's going with all of this, and technology is evolving. So I think that you guys raised a lot of questions that I'm looking forward to seeing what the answers are going to actually be, because I feel like a lot of people are speculating right now. So this was good, and I'm looking forward to the future.
Great. Thank you. Well, this is the Virtual Film Company. We are here on Spatial.io every week on Wednesday at noon Eastern time. And you can join us via a computer browser, a cell phone, or you can come in here in virtual reality if you have an HMD. And we'd love to have you here. We've been doing all the talking, and thank you, Chris, for a great display today. That was really amazing, having it in 3D and being able to see the quality. I mean, that's one of the things that's so important. But yeah, we have the Virtual Film Company has a YouTube channel, and now we have a Twitch channel since we've been broadcasting. And bear with us a little bit because we're getting used to this. We have been in virtual reality now for 2 years, doing a show on Alt Space VR, but have recently switched over here to Spatial.io, where we do this show now every Wednesday at noon Eastern, as I said. So please join us, and thank you again. Be sure to visit our YouTube channel and Facebook page and like and leave very cool comments and join the discussion and be part of the Virtual Film Company. We really want to create cutting edge stuff. We want to do it in virtual reality. We need people to help out. We need all kinds of people. We need actors. We need camera people. We need social media people. We need people of all types. And I see M just joined us. But, thank you for joining us. We're about to leave. We're here for an hour every week on Wednesday.
The one thing I wanted to say is I believe, and I wanted to, from Apple, I think that they would have been really impressed watching Chris rotate that headset and show all those camera angles and the zoom. And you did a great job of continuing what that product stands for, that wow factor, seeing it move around, making people want this thing. So good job, Chris.
Well,
Yeah,
that can be a topic
5%.
for another show, but I think that's the whole thing here, is that being able to see an object in 3D, being able to look at it, can save you a lot of time. So, Chris, sorry, comment?
No, everything's fine. So,
Okay.
yeah, see you next week.
Great, excellent. Well,
right.
Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for attending. We really appreciate it. And next week we'll be talking about animation and AI. So join us for that. Thank you.
Boom.
Cheers.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.